we have quite an extensive geography of our audience. Let's do our traditional roll call. Please write what city and country you're from in the chat. So please write your city and country. This is our tradition, and one should respect traditions. So it helps us see how many people we have here and where from. I see Prague, Czech Republic, California, United States. Perfect. We have some very good news, individual separate news for the United States. We have Kazakhstan, Slavgorod, Russia, Almaty, Kazakhstan, France, Alipur, India. Hello, India. Mumbai, Baku, Azerbaijan. Well, great, well done. Quite an extensive geography, lots of countries. I counted at least 10. And thank you for your attendance, for attending our meetings. And today is a classic representative meeting of all our meetings. It's like an example. And I hope the geography will be growing every week. So first, let's discuss some technical aspects of today's meeting. I might be get disconnected during my broadcast. If I suddenly leave, please do not leave the meeting. We will resume the meeting, so please stay put, and I will reconnect immediately. It can happen in 45 to 60 minutes. So as for your questions during the meeting, please refrain from asking your questions because it might distract me from what I am going to say, other partners who are attending this meeting, because usually you know that my broadcasts take the form of a dialogue, but everything should come in its own time. First, we have some time when the speaker delivers their intended speech, and then there is a time for questions and answers, and I gladly answer all questions. Before we start today's meeting, please give me some feedback whether you liked our previous broadcast that we held last Thursday, last week, whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it. If you liked it, please write in the chat what you liked during the last meeting. And if you didn't like it, then also tell us what specifically you didn't like, what you didn't enjoy. This is very important, particularly for me as a person who regularly has such broadcast meetings with you, informs you about the development of the string transportation technology and the tasks and achievements of our platform, the prospects that we see before ourselves, and the objectives that we set for ourselves. So we're going to give it some time. Please give me some feedback, because I see quite a lot of today's guests also attended last meeting. I know some of you personally, some of you I didn't have the pleasure to meet. Some names I do memorize. I have a very good memory for names. Someone says, perfect, you have nerves of steel when you handle the objections. Well, thank you for your compliment. It's not about having nerves of steel or handling objections. It's about, you know, being able to deal with it no matter what business it is, no matter what sphere it is, because people are split into different categories and they have different opinions about the same things. So two different people have different opinions. Let me give you a very simple example about the glass of water. When an optimist and a pessimist derive different conclusions when looking at a glass of water, a pessimist might say that a glass of water, if there is half of it, half of water in the glass, would say that it's half empty, whereas an optimist would call it a glass half full. So basically, this is a indication that every person has their own way of thinking, have their own biopsychic model of interacting with the surrounding world, and so on and so forth. So any negativity can turn out to be positive in other people's eyes. But I'm more enjoying constructive negativity or criticism when a person is not fully clear about something or does not fully comprehend something happening in the company. Or, for example, they would like to have some clarification regarding the legal restructuring. So this is a normal thing. But of course, when people start crossing lines, for example, offending other participants, insulting them, showing not just their negativity, but I'd say start saying derogatory things to other people. And I think it's unacceptable. And that's what I said last time as well, that such people will not be admitted to comments. They will not be allowed to leave comments. This is the red line that people should not cross. So we would like to take the opportunity to comment from such people. This is our right, as is the right of people to express their opinion. But that opinion should be constructive, loyal, objective. And as I always say, we're always open to feedback, open to communication. And for many years, we've been developing this project and promoting this string transportation technology. And I've always been saying that all the questions related to the development of string technology, its prospects, its future, have already answers. And I testify to that by answering your questions. Avinash Kumar says, I love UST. Well, everyone loves it. Suraj, yes, I read your message. You did send it to me, but I haven't yet read your messages. I received a lot of messages from the partners that I asked to send me messages. So Suraj, please do not take it personally. On Sunday, I have a specific day to answer all of my personal messages, direct messages that I receive from my entire structure of partners. So please wait for my answer. And Suraj, for you, I will have a specific plan of cooperation with you. And I'm sure you are going to like it and you'll find it very promising in terms of the development of our business in the Indian region. Someone else says, Alexander, that a lot of people cannot simply grasp the idea that a major business is a series of force majeure circumstances. Correct. And even a small business or a standard medium business is also a series of force majeure circumstances. For example, there are investments that guarantee safety and security. For example, investing in real estate does not always turn out to be safe and secure. For example, people in countries that faced no wars tended to invest in real estate, but then that country faced the war. And what do you think about the opinion of the investors about real estate when the country is ravaged by a war, when assets they invested their money are simply destroyed by military conflict? So it's not even a force majeure. It's like an extreme force majeure, that circumstance that never anyone could predict. And as for the business processes, especially the development of the string transportation technology, that has been to a certain point a venture innovative project, then here the risks were way bigger and there were way more force majeure circumstances. But since you touched upon this topic, I would like to give a small comment. 3 years ago, the entire world was literally attacked by COVID. And then companies that already set roots and had millions and billions of dollars of turnover had to leave the market because they could not withstand such an epidemic, because some businesses were not tailored to online economy, and the companies that weren't able to adapt to a new way of doing business simply had to leave the market. But the companies that took advantage of this force majeure circumstance, then they derived some gains from that. As for the string transportation technology, the company did not simply not leave the market, but adapted to the circumstances and made a certain breakthrough in the implementation of some of the projects or areas, or not even spin-offs. How to phrase it? Let's say kinds of activity. New rolling stocks were developed, new tracks were developed and certified, and all of it happened during the COVID times, which gives us even more trust in geniality and professionalism of Dr. Unitsky, who leads the entire engineering operations in his company, and not does only keep his hands on the pulse, but also able to adapt. And for us, dear friends, it's a very big advantage because we put our trust in a person who showed this technology to us, and we put our trust in a person who was able not only to implement it, but also to bring it to a commercial success, commercial result. And during our last meeting, our last broadcast, we did discuss those aspects. So tell me, please, from the last meeting, what you were most impressed with in terms of the achievements that we announced and the news that we read together and looked into together last time. So what did you enjoy most? What did you like the most out of all those, that news and achievements? Please write it in the chat too. Don't be shy, dear colleagues. We all have chats, and the chat and the keyboard. What news did you like the best, the most over July or June? Or what we discussed? So what we predicted, because some of the predictions were my personal opinion, and personal opinions are always subjective. And some of the opinions were expressed based on the actual facts. Alexander says the audit for 2023, perfect. It's a very good signal for us that the company is as transparent as possible. Someone else says there is a potential track between Minsk and the satellite city. Yes, there was such piece of news in Belarus that the administration of the country is considering using string transportation in their region. Fatima wrote something. Let me translate your question first. So Fatima, so you are still signing up people in the United States, whether you should continue doing so. Well, let me put it this way. legally, the situation is that allows you to do it. But on the other hand, it doesn't. So basically, we're on the fence here. We will, in the near future, give you clarification whether we can continue working in the same format as before in the territory of the United States. But let me point it out to you, and we're going to take it and discuss it as a separate aspect of the technology development, why the company is looking at the United States and going there. So Fatima, in reply to your question, let's still stay on the fence, okay? I will think about it, and I will try to give you a definite answer in the near future, okay? Just please wait. So take into consideration what we're going to talk about today. It is important for us to do our work correctly, both legally and in reputational terms. It is very important for us. So it is important for us not to make mistakes. Namik Kasimov said he liked the scalability of the technology. Alexander says that there is a project being developed in South Asia. Well, yes. And I would like to hear some more opinions, please, because we have quite a lot of people today. So some other things that you liked, and it will serve as a starting point for us. Alexander is asking, where can we find the list of countries where we can promote the project? Well, you should do the other way around here. In the near future, we will give you the list of countries where you cannot promote the project. And then all other countries are greenlit, because our plans are very promising for many years ahead. So by planning your work appropriately, specifically the marketing work, which is directly proportional in terms of the influence on the reputation of the technology and the reputation of our platform. So we should do everything correctly from the get-go. So it's a very good comment that you made. I will put it down, note it down. So it is very good to have this information on our website as well. The green and red list countries. Anatoly says, why don't they start building it in Belarus? Well, if you're talking about your own country, take a look at the chronology. Whereas 5-6 years ago, people who made decisions in that country, I'm talking about the Ministry of Transportation, about the authorities that were very critical about the work and actions of Dr. Yunitsky and his team, and were trying to impede their operations. Now, 5-6 years later, the discourse of the opinion of the administration now changed. The president mentioned the possibility of building a string transportation track between Minsk and the satellite city. And what I was pleasantly surprised is that closed joint stock company, String Technologies, which is a commercial for-profit organization, received the status of a R&D institute, which means that the company and the technology pursued by that company is recognized, and an R&D institute serves to further develop and promote the technology. So the conclusion that we can make here is that people who criticized and called Dr. Yunitsky and his team insane and literally insulted him and his colleagues, and there were a lot of very unpleasant YouTube videos. People mocked and laughed at Dr. Yunitsky, telling him that he is building unibuses and tracks out of sheer cardboard, now changed their opinion, changed their narrative, and became even advocates. So the metamorphosis that happened with that people is quite indicative. It's like psychology 101. You know, first they are in denial, then negotiation, and then like acceptance. There are 5 stages of grief, you know. And this kind of audience, the citizens and the powers that be, change the narrative over years. I will read 2 more comments, and then I will tell you about the format that we're going to have our discussion in. We're not going to have it for 2 hours, probably 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, and then we will discuss the United States separately. Verica. So Verica is asking about the training, when the training will start. We're going to start it when the website is launched. And I will show you the what we're going to have there. And I already made some announcements, lifted the veil, and we're going to handpick partners who will be willing to work within the financial and legal, let's say environment. As for with regards to string technology, marketing, sales, building your team. And Verica, thank you very much for asking me this question. So I don't think we should even be waiting for the launch of the platform, because after all, launching of the platform is the IT team domain. So the launch will happen somewhere in October, but we should always keep in mind that it might take longer, more time than that. So I think we shouldn't be wasting time here, and be prepared when the launch happens. Just give me a second. One second, please. So someone is asking, Tochim Kamodan, can I trust this company? Well, if I understood your question correctly, then if you take a look at the achievements and the work done so far, then you can answer your own question. Of course we can. As for the dividends, we already discussed this question, but let me answer right once again. Dear colleagues, in 2023, in December, at the summary, in his summary video, Dr. Yunitsky said the following, and I'll try to quote it for you. By 2025, the group of companies will prepare the financial and legal mechanism for paying out dividends if the company starts making profits. How it's going to happen in technical terms, financial, legal terms, will depend on the structure, on the mechanism. So imagine, we're living in dozens of countries altogether. We have hundreds of thousands of investors. And then we need to create a mechanism that will allow the group of companies, UST, the group of companies involved in the creation of the technology, in the sales of the technology, in receiving the profits, to optimize first taxation, then optimize the costs related to that, and create a mechanism that would allow to pay out, share the profits with their investors from all the countries taken together, different jurisdictions. And this is what Unitsky's team is working on. Literally 45 minutes, well, an hour ago, I talked to Dr. Unitsky over the phone, and we discussed this topic. How is it promoted right now? What is the company's vision? What his vision is as the owner? And let me assure you, this work is being done. But how it's gonna be, nobody knows, not even Dr. Unitsky, because it's a matter of time. It will happen next year or the years after. Of course, it's a very important question, and it requires solid work, solid preparation. The restructuring of the group of companies needs to happen to activate the mechanism of paying dividends. And I'm sure you know it, you understand it, because the way the financial legal model is created right now, it was created back in 2013, but it was changed since then. Some companies left it, other companies were added to this group of companies. But talking about dividends and the potential receipt of these dividends, we need to make sure everything is done correctly. The preparatory work is done correctly. And where the dividends will come from, I already told you about it. The company already has two commercial products, the urban and cargo transportation and transportation systems. And those two products are already in the market. There is an already potential demand for those products and the mechanism of implementation of those products. The mechanism has been launched. And when the company starts receiving profits, then when the question should be arisen, whether we can use the current legal framework to start paying dividends. And I don't think so. I think the current framework should be reworked or improved upon to start paying dividends correctly to everyone in all the jurisdictions. And it again all comes down to the legal framework. And that's why a team of international lawyers is working on it. But I'm 100% sure, not a single doubt in my mind, that it will happen and all the plans and objectives will be achieved. Did I answer you this question? Please give me some feedback. Whether everyone is clear about the logic of what I've just said. Is the logic of my answer clear regarding the paying of the dividends? Because that's a recurring question. Okay, someone says clear, understood. So what matters here is that you're absolutely clear at the subconscious level that it is not the year 2025 when the dividends will be paid. By 2025, the company will create the framework. And if it happens in 2025, then of course, we're going to be very happy. We'll be thankful to God and everyone that it finally happened. But if the process of the creation of the financial and legal framework for paying dividends will take longer, then we shouldn't be too worried about it. What concerns us is to make sure that we have more and more clients who will order that technology. Remember that I told you, as soon as we have the first client who will start building a specific commercial project, will start construction works on a site, then we will see thousands of people who are waiting or companies who are waiting, who will be the first to order a string transportation system from Unitsky. And when that first client arrives, then we will immediately see a second one, a third one, and then 100th one. And that's where the boom will happen. And that's where the company will have quite a lot of funds that can be considered as profits. And by that time, the company should not have a headache how to allocate that profits across different investors, but the company simply needs to be ready for it, for that moment. So there are two different parallel processes. The commercial team takes care of the sales of the technology. Engineering company is working on the project, and the legal team is preparing the grounds, developing the framework to pay the dividends to everyone. And I will be very grateful to you if you would understand what I'm talking about here, if you're absolutely clear. And let me read one more comment and then we can move on. I'm curious about how many cars have been developed so far and how many cars have been tested and certified for commercial projects. I think more than 10, I might be mistaken, and 16 types of rolling stock. But if someone has more precise information, please set me straight. But let me tell you, Tex, that there are lots of cars that have been developed and tested. And lots of it's called rolling stocks. And most of those models have been tested and certified. Yunitsky said 11, someone says. Well, probably Dr. Yunitsky meant urban type cars, because we have cargo, then we have rolling stocks that are still under development. Because when we see something, we already see the final product, the final version, but we do not see what's going on in the shop, in the assembly shop, or where the tests are run. And I always admire the genius of Dr. Yunitsky, because the way we picture something based on his words is so different from what he actually implements thanks to his genius and his team. It's always, I always admire it. It's amazing. It's always better than what we envisaged. The first unibus that was developed and the one that I saw was very different from what I imagined, how I pictured it in my head. It's like something out of science fiction, somewhere out of outer space. Unibike, for example, it was a piece of art, masterpiece in terms of design, aerodynamics, and all other technical characteristics. Okay, dear friends, we did give it some time and discussed it for some time, but now I'd like to go back to the realities, to what we have on hands right now, and the last news that was published, released, and that was very much liked by many of you, and I'm going to show it to you. And this is what we're going to build our conversation about. We don't have much time left for us to talk about it. So let me share my screen with you. 1 second, please. Can you see my screen? So where is our chat? Can you see my screen? Please give me some confirmation. An interview was published, a conversation between Dr. Yunitsky and a colleague in Atlanta, United States. If I understood correctly, I might be mistaken, but I think she's the CEO of the company in the United States, in Atlanta. Yes, she's the director of the American marketing company, Alina Yevtushenko. So what does it tell us? Anatoly left for the United States for a couple of weeks. And let's start from the basics. Has everyone watched this video? present here. Yes, I see pluses. Yes, someone says both watched and listened. Well, thank you very much. Those of you who didn't, I strongly recommend you do. This is A. And B, those of you who are not subscribed to Unitsky's channel, please do so. You can click on this sign up button in here. I already signed. Since I'm incognito mode, it tells me like that I can sign, but I already signed. Private mode browser. So if you didn't, please do like the video. It will help promote his channel, which is very important. Then leave comments, see how many people left their comments under this video, like an endless admiration and praisal of what Dr. Unitsky is doing. Well, of course, some trolls may be present there as well, but adequate people outnumber trolls and haters. So what does this news tell us? Let's try and think about it together. What is this piece of news indicative of? Let's be interactive about it. So leave your comments in the chat, please. I'm trying to do a recap of what's going on and what we need to do to speed up the entire process. So my question is, what does it tell us? The fact that the company is launching first its marketing operations and then engineering operations on a new market. Please do write. You have hands, you have your keyboard. Leave your comments. Be active about it. I will be reading your comments, questions in English, or comments in English and other languages will be translated by me in Google Translate. Meanwhile, please do write. So Alexander says it's market expansion. Big investors live in the United States. Yes, indeed so. American authorities are interested in our technology. It is indicative of capitalization. We're waiting for new meetings in Europe. The development of high-speed transportation. Well, a penny for your thoughts, other thoughts. So please share your thoughts. What does it tell us? Someone says, we're going to conquer America and expand our business. Oh, commercially, financially conquer. I'm trying to drive you at a specific conclusion that would serve as a starting point for the conversation that I have in mind. So right now, just give me some more time. I will read out more comments. Lazat gave a very interesting comment. Okay. I will note it down. So very interesting comments you're leaving, guys. The United States is now facing a very bad infrastructure, transportation infrastructure. And more companies are interested in new types of transportation and in the dissemination of this particular technology. The company has the opportunity to open up branches in other countries. Okay, now please stop commenting and now I will give you my personal interpretation of what's going on right now. And I will rely on the facts that we have right now in terms of the company development. I will be listing the facts. And again, this is my personal opinion. But again, I will also rely on some data and my understanding of the direction the group of companies of the string transportation is going, and everything related to its implementation, capitalization, and realization. A, dear friends, during previous broadcasts, many partners that I mentioned before as well wrote that the company hasn't achieved anything, results are nowhere to be seen, and so on and so forth. Did we have such comments? We did. And publicly, I rebutted those comments. I kind of showed the opposite side of it, and showed that people who write such comments usually are not abreast of the news. They don't know actually what the company achieved so far. So what we have right now on our hands, starting since 2013, 2014, 15 stages were announced, stages for the implementation of the string transportation technology. And in the realities where this particular memorandum business plan was written for the development of, or the predictions for the development of this technology, it envisaged 15 stages and 4 years until 2018. And someone wrote in the comments in the video last but one, asking that, Maxim, you being the head of the platform, did not read about the 15 stages because that business plan mentioned the final year, the year 2018. And my answer is, it could have been realistic and it could have been implemented if all the conditions have been met. So please stop writing your comments because they're distracting me. Verica, you too, because I would like to finish my thought. By the time, during the moment where that particular business plan was being developed, when the vector, the area of the development, direction of the development was determined, which was back in 2014, the perfect case scenario implied 4 years of development if the company received 100% of the required funds at each stage. So my question to you, did the company receive the 100% of the required amount of funds at each particular stage in order to do the work that the company had planned? So did it receive that money? Give me an answer, please. So you can answer right now. You can write in the comments. No. Constant lack of funding. And this is what we see in the financial reports of the engineering company. And it's not about like, I think there was lack of funding. No, it's a fact. There was insufficient funds showed in the audit reports, in the financial statement reports. So not all of the stages were received 100% of the required funding. The next question is, was the entire scope of work performed to create urban transportation system while being underfunded? If you take a look at the stages, you wouldn't see more than 10 different types of rolling stocks, more than 5, 7 types of track structures, and lots of other different know-hows that were implemented by Dr. Unitsky. So what I'm driving at here Alexander put it right, that more than declared has been done. Of course, it took way more time, and the company couldn't have done it by 2018 with being severely underfunded. In legal world, one circumstance may cause a second one, then a third one, and if one isn't accomplished, then it will lead to the second one not being accomplished. So if there was a underfunding, then how the next stages can be implemented, like IPO and the company going public, etc., etc. So if the year 2018 and people saying that they were promised something, just forget about it. Throw it out of your heads, because we are all rational thinking beings, and we all can use analytical thinking. And let's not try to, build our castle on the sand here, or let's not engage in wishful thinking. Let's face the facts. Of course, there were different circumstances, different countries that the company tried to go to. Of course, according to the original plan, the company was supposed to build their test grounds in Europe, in the Baltic states. And if you remember, it didn't happen due to falsified, literally fake reasons that the administration of the country came up with. And then the company of the local company, Unitsky company, had to reimburse damages, like moral damages, physical damages, etc., because all the accusations against Dr. Unitsky and his team were simply rebutted, were simply refused, and showed that they're very insufficient and ungrounded. Several years later, when the test grounds were actually constructed in Belarus, in the neighboring country, where eco festivals were held and all the people could see the actual rolling stock moving along the track. So all those accusations and criticism simply were destroyed. But did it influence the original plans? Of course it did, because the work in Minsk, in the testing grounds, the engineering company's operations started several years later after the crowdfunding process started. So is it objective reason enough? Yes, it is. As for lack of funding or underfunding, well, nobody's to blame that it happened, because we tried to fund it the best way we could. And all of you were actively engaged in this process. And I'm immensely grateful to each and single one of you. And I think Dr. Unitsky is even more grateful. And he's thankful for every contribution of every person. But again, it's a fact that the company was severely underfunded. Could the stages be closed or achieved sooner than planned? Well, no. But still, the planned works have been performed. And this is yet another sign of the genius of Dr. Unitsky and his ability to optimize costs, which deserves our appraisal and our admiration that he was able to do that. Next, we are now in the year 2024. We practically achieved the stage 15, where we are now at a moment when we can introduce a new type of transportation that has a huge potential for capitalization, but it is quite expensive, way more expensive than what we've done so far. But at the same time, everything that we've done so far in terms of urban and cargo transportation is already in the process of capitalization. Why? I already mentioned it, but I'm going to repeat it. The company has two ready-for-use products, urban and cargo transportation. And this is what we funded. This is what we gave money for. And Dr. Unitsky and his team were able to implement it, to bring it into life. And the proof of that is the orders and certification, orders that the company received from many, many clients. There are entire construction design bureaus that are taking care of the engineering part. We have marketing teams. We have marketing representative office in different countries and even continents, where the company is promoting the technology and the potential implementation or realization of the orders, which means that those two products are ready and are now going into the open sea. They are ready to be implemented. So basically, we can say that we accomplished our mission here. We helped it being implemented and made our contribution and our gratitude for that. So we have other tasks to accomplish. Now we have to keep supporting the company because the company is almost at the point of self-sustainability, and it will start making a profit thanks to future orders. And I have no doubts about it. I'm not talking about like distant future, in the near future. But at the same time, we have the task of raising funds for high-speed transportation. And now Dr. Unitsky, surprisingly for many, goes to the United States, where many years ago, a legal entity was opened, which is part of the group of companies owned by Dr. Unitsky, part of his intellectual property, and that company was biding its time. And right now, when the company has two different R&D centers in two different locations, one of them is in Belarus, Eastern Europe, and the second R&D center is on the Arabian Peninsula, United Arab Emirates, where urban and cargo transportation complexes of string transportation have been implemented. And in both countries, Dr. Unitsky expected himself to implement the high-speed transportation in those two locations. But those of you who have been with us for a long time, since 2015, remembers that we've been given promises to have the land allocated to us in the desired location, but it never came to fruition. In the Emirates, also there is a possibility to get the land allocated, but then it's about the conditions and how much it's going to cost. And construction in the Emirates is 3 times more expensive than construction in any other country. So, and now we see that Dr. Unitsky went to the United States, and the interview that I mentioned today, and most of the people present here watched that interview. In that interview, Dr. Unitsky gives a clear answer why the United States were chosen as a potential spot for the implementation of high-speed transportation, design, testing, and certification in the United States. The United States, despite being the leading and most powerful economies in the world, with a developed infrastructural system, that country nevertheless does not have high-speed transportation. Unfortunately, or fortunately for us, unfortunately, they don't have high-speed transportation. Japan, China, Germany, France, if I'm not mistaken, and in a number of other countries, they have high-speed transportation communication. But in such a big country with huge economic resources, there is no high-speed transportation. And Dr. Unitsky is now making a very logical, wise, in my opinion, move, which is to introduce high-speed transportation to design, test, and certify and launch it in the United States. So if we take a global look at it, we as investors in the string transportation technology now have a very intelligent leader and developer of this particular technology, because there is a very important geopolitical component to it. Here we get diversification. If we take a look at the economic processes right now and geopolitical processes on the global arena, we can say for sure that we cannot be sure of the future, no matter where you are. But the fact that the technology is already, part of the technology is in Eastern Europe, part of the technology is on the Arabian Peninsula, and now we have the potential possibility of being deployed in North America, it reduces the risks of something going wrong, of something going south with regards to hostile takeover or other unfair business practices, etc., etc. And this is a big advantage. But we all need to understand here that at the stage that we are at, and which is we're very close to moving to high-speed transportation, certain structural changes might happen in the company in the future, which might reflect upon how many percentage-wise shares we can get in the high-speed transportation. What kind of a share in the high-speed transportation we can get. When we funded the string transportation technology long ago, the business plan and the feasibility study was written back then based on the realities of the past. Now the realities are different. For example, high-speed transportation, when it starts developing in the United States territory, a completely different category of investors will come in. Not only crowdfunding, but let me tell you, predominantly not from crowdfunding. And the investors will get the biggest share of the pie of the shares in the high-speed transportation. But it doesn't mean that we will be completely cut off. Of course not. This is not what I'm saying. I'm saying about the size of the piece of the pie that we can get in the high-speed transportation. As for the string transportation technology, urban and cargo, it's one thing. It has been implemented and we are in it already. But as for the high-speed transportation, it will be implemented according to a different financial investment framework. And if it is implemented, then certain changes, of course, will happen. And the company, of course, will provide clarification, will make a statement, and we will understand where we are at in this global state of affairs. And this is my explanation. This is my perspective, how things will go. But I think it's a logical conclusion. This is quite close to the truth prediction. And now the very important task that Anatoly voiced for the company is the search for the land where the engineering structures can be erected, where the work will be actually conducted. Because, of course, we're talking about long distances between the construction site and the teams. It should not be between two different states, like hundreds of kilometers. So it's about choosing the correct location, the correct spot, then getting all the permits from the local authorities. And this is the work that the company is doing right now in the US. So the bottom line here is the company has achieved good results in two particular areas, urban and cargo transportation, which are already underway towards capitalization, monetization. It's a fact. You can argue about it, stomp your feet and cry, but if you call if you call white black and black white, then again, you might be due for a visit with your eye doctor. So if you can see the results, the achievements so far, then I think you should maybe step aside and take a different perspective, different look at what happened, or probably give it more time to observe what's going on and what will be going on in the development of this global infrastructural and sector forming technology. This is A. And B is the company is moving on to the next stage of an implementation, which is the development of a creation of a big global niche in transportation, which is high-speed, elevated transportation. And believe me, it's gonna be way different from what we envisaged before. It's going to be better. Now, before, well, I think it's been an hour since we've been on air. We started at around like past 10, so we can give it like 15 or half an hour to talk about how we can be useful to that technology and what's in it for us. But before we do that, I would like to ask you one question. Out of what you've just heard about the development of the technology in terms of the high-speed transportation in the territory of the United States and the prospects associated with it, and the fact that we might get a piece of the pie in the high-speed transportation. So how do you like this prediction from me? How do you think, does it resonate with you? What do you think about it? If they segregate high-speed transportation and urban transportation share, it's so bad for many of us who have been with this company for a long time will not benefit from high-speed transportation. Many of us has invested because of high-speed transportation system, though it's not yet tested. Well, Tax, you are correct that it hasn't been tested yet. However, there is one nuance here. Let's try to be logical about it. Let's rely on facts here. We saw the potential prototype of the high-speed transportation. We saw it. It was shown InnoTrans Expo in Berlin in 2018. It was a prototype, but it was created using the investors' funds that joined the company back then. So, of course, part of the high-speed transportation will be related to us. But considering how much money was spent on high-speed transportation and how much money is yet to be spent, it is a small share of the entire budget that was raised over the years of crowdfunding. It's a very small percentage that the company, Dr. Yunitsky, with the team spent on high-speed transportation. It is just a prototype. It's not like a tested, certified, upgraded system. So yeah, but again, I mentioned that it doesn't mean that we will be completely cut off from this project. No, I think that we will be connected to it in this way or another. Someone says it's a best step forward. Vlastinil Lisak. Thank you. Our shares don't cover high-speed transportation. Suraj, in your opinion, can we cover the high-speed transportation right now if we were able only to implement cargo and urban transportation? Because after all, high-speed transportation requires hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's why I said that the implementation of the high-speed transportation is a different direction. If it's not even about an R&D center or eco-techno park, it's a Yunitsky technology platform. It's a separate platform. That's, I guess, how we can call it. And cost-wise, in terms of costs, I think it's going to be even more than we required for the implementation or achievement of what we achieved so far. So we're going to need even more money. Alexander says that most probably the company will single out high-speed transportation as a separate project. But Alexander, it's quite logical. Right now we have urban and cargo transportation, and it's being capitalized. And we are already at a big advantage here in terms of capitalization and monetization of the process. Plus, we're going to be given a kind of small part in the high-speed transportation too. Let's not forget about it. Alexander, by the way, thank you for your feedback. You're quite active today. Just give me a second. I'm so excited about it, Fatima. I'm a realtor. I have the land he discussed and mentioned. How I can contact them. Fatima, are you from the United States? If you are, then write to me, please. Ruslan, give Fatima my contact details, because if you are from the United States and you have something to offer, you remember I talked to Dr. Yunitsky today about it, so it's quite relevant to what we're talking about here. So if you have ideas about the land where it can be deployed, then this information might be very useful to us. Dr. Yunitsky would never isolate Russian-speaking investors and not give them dividends. Well, look, I'm not saying that high-speed transportation will not be funded from the crowdfunding. Of course not. That's not what I'm saying. But most probably bigger investors will come in. Probably institutional investors will come in. This is like one aspect. But as far as the crowdfunding is concerned, we can actively use this mechanism. Of course, the capitalization is going to be different because the United States market is different. Going to the market is going to be different. Of course, it's a separate project. In 15th stage, there is mentioned about 500 kilometers per hour speed certification. So these shares must cover high-speed transportation. So this was a question from Suraj. So right now, are we building the high-speed transportation? No, we aren't. What we were saying at each and every stage, we were underfunded. And the investments that we are raising right now are covering the back costs, the works that have been done so far. And we're now increasing discounts because of the lack of funding and a certain pool of shares accumulated, which allows us to offer shares to our clients with an increased discount. That's it. So the investments coming in right now are used to cover the needs that we had and we have, and not the high-speed transportation. We don't even have land for now. What was covered is the design of the high-speed rolling stock. It's testing, some upgrading, but we're talking about a very small drop in the ocean here in order to turn it into a full-fledged project. Do we have like 25 kilometers of stretch, which takes 5-10 kilometers to accelerate, then go for 5 kilometers at full speed, and then take 10 more kilometers to slow down and come to a full stop? We don't have such a stretch of land for now. Without urban and cargo, there wouldn't be high speed, someone says. Well, not exactly. If Dr. Unitsky set the task of implementing high speed first, he would have done it. It's about what's easier to sell. Is it easier to sell urban transportation, 3-5 kilometers stretch, or high speed over 500 kilometers stretch? What's easier to capitalize? Of course, urban and cargo transportation. It's a cause and effect. But I don't think there is a cause and effect relation here, that without cargo and urban, there wouldn't be high speed. High speed would have been implemented even without urban and cargo transportation. I will take some more comments because I need to get the overall feedback about it. Yes, Verica says that we could consider the sand land, which is cheap. Yes, we could look in the direction of desert. What matters is that there is a settlement nearby where the team could live and where the engineers could live and work from. Next. Thax says, I have actually invested in Unitsky string technology after seeing high-speed transportation system. I was not because urban transportation that drew me, though my investments was not a big amount. Per my suggestion, if we should also have share in high speed, and future investors in high speed transformation should also have shared in urban transport. Well, what I'm doing right now is I'm sharing my predictions, but they are based on the actual facts and the achievements and the area and the direction of development and the information that I have, that I get due to my line of duty and out of my discussions with Dr. Unitsky and his team. So my predictions rely on that. And then let's see how it goes, what kind of a format it takes. But believe me, Dr. Unitsky has always been honest and straightforward with his promises, and we had a chance to see it. Anatoly delivered more than he actually promised. And there is a huge list of results to prove that Dr. Unitsky is a man of his word. And I don't think anyone has any doubts about it. As for the reorganization of the group of companies for us to be able to receive dividends for us to be able to participate in the capitalization, yes, it's going to happen. And the way the restructuring is going to be implemented, I'm sure is going to be implemented correctly, taking into account the interest of all the investors that the company has had so far who supported the technology. It both relates to the investors of the string transportation technology in general and the high-speed transportation in particular. All the interests are going to be taken into account. I suggest we take a 5-7 minute break for us to discuss later a very important question regarding our direct participation as veterans, as old-timers and ambassadors of the string transportation technology, and in this project in general. How can we be useful? What's in it for us? What kind of steps we can make, specific steps we can make to speed up the capitalization process, to make the company start building a construction site, including on the territory of the United States. So please do not leave. Let's have a 5-minute break. Are you okay with a 5-minute break? Please write me in the chat. Okay, good. So let's give it 5 minutes and then let's be back here in 5. Okay, dear friends, let's continue. No one's left. That's cool. Thank you. Yeah, someone said we had a break. Correct. We took a 5. So we have even more people. That's cool. Verica wrote something. Just give me a second. Before we resume, please tell me if you can hear and see me okay. Everything is cool. Well, Verica, I will reach out to you. A colleague of mine already shared your contact details with me, so we will get in touch and discuss it, okay? We're going to have a presentation on Saturday. We're going to have our translators with us as well. And after the presentation or before the presentation, let's have a meeting. I will ask the interpreter to allocate like 15-30 minutes of his time for us to talk to each other, okay? Okay, friends, let's continue. Where were we? So we have a lot of work ahead of us. When I mean work, I mean investment activity related work. The raised funds will be used to support the existing engineering and research operations conducted by Dr. Unitsky's team, and it will be used to support high-speed transportation as well when the relevant infrastructure is created in the United States. Hopefully it's going to be there, and then we will join that process. But for us, we have reasons enough to presume that crowdfunding will get a second breath and will be activated, and we will have to double our efforts because there will be double the amount of work we will have to do. So what do we have right now, dear friends? On our platform, Let's be honest about it. Currently, our old-timers are investing on our platform. So most of you present here are existing clients of our platform, and there are lots of you. Am I correct in saying that, right? So we have right now, we are old-timers, old investors. Do we have people here who haven't invested yet in string transportation technology? Let's have a poll, a survey. If you invested, give me a plus. If you haven't yet invested, give me a minus. And you'll see what I mean. Do we have people here who haven't invested? Give me a minus. If you invested, give me a plus. You see, pluses all the way, which means that at this meeting, at our platform, we have the advocates of the string transportation technology, the followers. On our platform, we have people who put their full trust in the genius of the 21st century, Anatoly Yunitsky, because he deserved that trust by his deeds, by his geniality, by the way he does business and the way he approaches his business. Just think about it. Anatoly is 75 years old, and yet he's so active. He is making transatlantic flights. He is conducting negotiations. He is in the engineering flow all the time. Just take a look at his last interview from the United States, where he showed his sketchbook or a notebook, which collected his like multi-years of work and notes. And no matter where we met with Dr. Yunitsky, in his office or in Eco Techno Park, he is always with his notebook. He's always writing in it. By writing, I mean he's doing sketches, he's improving, upgrading things. There was a COVID time where Anatoly flew from Belarus to Emirates through Kiev, the Borispol airport, and he had a connecting flight that took 5 hours. So basically there was 5 hours time between one flight and another. And I drove from Odessa, my town, to Kiev to meet Dr. Yunitsky, to discuss some work-related issues. And those 5 hours we spent on talking. And every time I approached Dr. Yunitsky, usually it took him less time to get to the terminal than me to get through the checkpoint. And usually when I came there, I saw him sitting with his notebook, working and developing, designing things. He's employing his cognitive abilities all the time. He's creating all the time. He's a genius. So to doubt the fact that Dr. Yunitsky will bring it to conclusion, that he will implement his technology, is not reasonable, because he already implemented 2 ready-to-use products. There is one more bonus project that is being developed, but we are not related to it, so I'm not mentioning it. So we are all veterans here, old investors who believe and trust Dr. Yunitsky and his achievements, his results that he achieved together with his team. Ahead of us, we have very responsible times for us. So first of all, to fund the engineering operations, further fund, and then help kickstart the high-speed transportation. Now we have the opportunity to make 2 main moves. First is to take part in the promotion that the platform is running right now. Increased discount, 77 right now is the highest discount you can get. And second is to roll up your sleeves and work with the people around you. You know that there is such a list, thing as contact list. Everyone has it on their phone. Inform those people of what we have achieved so far in the development of string transportation technologies over the years. And the third thing that comes from the first and second points, remember, we are getting ready for the transition to the new platform, where you're going to have a new marketing plan with a career ladder, with other different bonuses that we don't have on the current platform. You're going to have a completely new back office that will allow you to build careers for dozens of years ahead working with us. But while the preparatory process is ongoing, while the website is getting ready, while the training program is being developed, training modules are being developed, we have time to actively work. And for that, we have a very cool, awesome tool, in my opinion, an offer for your potential customers. So what I'm talking about here, in our back office, we have a promotion. I'm now screen sharing, and you can see my personal account. Can you see my personal account? Please tell me in the chat. Yes, you can. Okay, good. So now when you enter your back office, you're welcomed by this pleasant message, like, make use of bright impressions. It's time of bright impressions and pleasant surprises. And join the action, the promotion, summer discount, and increase your number of shares in your investment package. How does it look like? Here's how it looks like. This is how it looks like. Currently, we have 3 packages, main packages. I highlight them in red. Discount 60. It's a $1,000 package. You get a discount 60. And there are 2 options here. You can either take this package for yourself as part of the installment plan, 10 months, or make a one-time payment and get plus 10% shares. So it's going to be 66 and not 60 discount. The same applies to the discount 65. It's $250, 2,500 for at 250 per month, and then the same for discount 70. But if you pay for it in one go, then you're going to have a plus 10% increase, and you're going to get discount 77. So what kind of options you have here? What you can do with it? The first thing that I said is that you can increase your personal investment portfolio, which will influence your future status rank in the new compensation plan, marketing plan. Second, your personal and structure volumes will take into account this as well when we transition to the new marketing plan that will allow you to earn more on our marketing platform. So this is option 1, to increase your own investment portfolio using the current awesome discount. Second option is to go back to active work. So tell me how difficult it is for you to communicate, to talk to people about this kind of investment opportunity. Alexander says, I don't have such a offer in my personal account back office. No, you should have. We didn't impose any limitations. But he says, I have a discount 600. Well, if you have a discount 600, then of course this offer is not relevant for you, but it's going to be relevant for newcomers for sure. So tell me, how difficult it is for you to start working with the people around you, with your surrounding. And if it is difficult, tell me what's difficult about it. We will try and break it down. And while you're writing your answers, I would like to focus on one more thing. Many people say that the discounts used to be 40 and now they're 70, used to be like 50 and now they're 60, etc. I already explained why. It's because the company was underfunded, and that's how the accumulation of shares, non-sold shares, happened, which doesn't allow the company at the current stage to offer a floating discount. Well, that's how I would call it. At the stage that we are at right now, we have a floating discount because of the lack of funding, unsold shares. So don't be surprised that you have these options. One thing I can tell you straight away, be attentive. And I'm waiting for your answers right away. I'm waiting for your answer, whether you find it difficult to work with your contact list, with people you know who either don't know about the string transportation technology or do know about the string transportation technology, but haven't yet joined this initiative. So let me finish my previous thought while you're writing your answers. Let me note it straight away. The shares like this with a higher discount based on the stage will not be offered until the time the new platform is launched. This is something I can guarantee you. No such discounts will come in the near future. So with full responsibility, I can tell you here that those of you who haven't yet increased their personal portfolio, this is the time for you to do so, because we won't have a similar promotion in the near future. And those people who haven't yet joined us, then please inform them of this opportunity and tell them that there is such an opportunity. And Madina said, how to invite newcomers who've never heard about this technology? Would you give me a step-by-step instruction? And I would write it down. Elementary. I announced that on this Saturday, I'm going to have a presentation for newcomers. So we have like 20 minutes left, and then we're going to have 20 hours of net time deducted, minus the break that we had, etc. But on Saturday, I will gladly help you do that. Just invite people who are not on the train with us. And then we can split those people into two categories. The first category is the people who heard about this string transportation technology, whom you told about this technology, but they called you crazy and told you, look, like cardboard trains, I'm not interested. This is all scam, fraud, etc., etc. And you call those people and you tell them, listen, remember I told you 5 years ago, we talked about it, and we talked about this string transportation technology, and you said you weren't interested, you didn't believe in it, and the person will say, yeah, I remember. Is there any news about it? And you tell them, let me share a video with you, and you share Dr. Unitsky's video of December 2023 as a summary report over what the company, the team, has done in 2023. In my opinion, they show it very well. They show the results and prospects for the future very well. The person will watch and say, look, for example, Medina. I'm very surprised. That's how things are, because they will see the construction site, all the processes happening in the Emirates, the production facilities, the level of people coming to us. You can share with them some news where ministries of transportation came with a visit, this level of people. And then after that person watches the video, you invite that person to our live broadcast of our presentation on Saturday that I will be holding. So you have 3 days. Well, Thursday, Friday, well, you still have time to inform 2 or 3 people about it. So we still have time, like an entire day tomorrow. You can invite 5, 10 people. If you invite 10 people, then 2 or 3 people will surely come. So this is something you might do. Another thing that I strongly recommend you do, let me show it to you. Show those people the video by Dr. Unitsky. Well, first subscribe yourself to the channel, and then show those people this film. 1 second, please. Which was dedicated to the 75th anniversary of Anatoly Unitsky. Okay, dear friends, what I warned about actually happened, but it happened an hour later. They had to shut the electricity down 1 hour ago, but it happened an hour later. But I'm lucky enough or smart enough to have a generator, alternative sources of power. But we have the same number of people. I have like 80 people in the Russian room. That's great. I will start sharing my screen and we can continue. So just give me some feedback meanwhile, whether you can see and hear me. Everything is okay? Good. 10 out of 10. Everything is fine. Then we can resume. I can go back. So let me see if you see the right screen. Everything is fine. Okay. So going back to the question of shares. I told you, where was I, by the way? Where was I interrupted? I think I was talking about the second category of people who have been observing us, but they haven't become co-owners of the technology. So those people, the observers who haven't become co-owners, you could share with them the film by Unitsky, Following the Star. So if you haven't watched it yet, please watch. 10,000 views in 3 months is not enough. It means not everybody watched it. We have 10,000 people in the Telegram group alone and have hundreds of thousands of registered users on our platform. So you should watch it. It's a must-watch film to see what kind of a path the man that we follow has taken. And you can show that film to your friends and acquaintances as well, your prospects, telling them, like, look, when you have time, watch this movie. How our world is going to change in the near future and how this world is changing and by whom this world is changing. Because this movie shows the path of all innovators that reshaped our today's world. And this is a very difficult journey path, especially if you know that your friend loves documentaries based on real events, then it might be your first touch or the first contact point. What else I wanted to say here, dear friends? What I would like to ask you about Do you have difficulties in inviting people, or you have lots of objections when you invite people? Please tell me in the chat. And while you're doing it, I will share one more thought with you. If you have difficulties, please share them with me. We will discuss them. And while you're writing, what else I wanted to say? So this particular promotion applies to new packages, but we also have a second part of the promotion. Now, listen carefully right now. Probably you might not have fully understood it. All of the clients of our platform that purchased their investment packages starting from January the 1st, 2024 until the 12th of July, 2024, independent, regardless of what kind of discount you had, if you early terminate your installment plan, pay in full, you will get plus 10% shares to your investment package. By the way, is everyone aware of that? If you haven't yet fully realized it, understood it. So do not miss out on this opportunity to finish your installment plans. For example, in April, you took advantage of the promotion discount 75. You used an installment plan. You paid in April, May, June. You paid 3 parts of the installment. And on the 25th of July, you are due to make your 4th payment. And if you pay all the 7 remaining payments, you will get 10% shares more. And then instead of having discount 75, you will have discount 82 or 82.5 discount plus 10%. If, for example, you purchased a package in installments in January and you were supposed to pay 10 months in a row, just pay the remaining 3 months in one go and you will get plus 10% shares to your portfolio. So we have 2 promotions running. The promotion for new people who have the opportunity to purchase, to become co-owners of the string transportation technology using a high discount. And the second promotion is for people who are already clients, but they're still paying their installment plans. And I will ask you one more question, and then we'll answer your question. So our offer is quite specific. Not everyone is ready to share risks, even if a person is an investor. Well, it depends on how do you understand the notion of risk. Let me give you an example. With real estate, we already mentioned real estate today. A classmate, former classmate of mine in December 2021 suggested I invest in real estate in Kharkov, Ukrainian city. He was engaged in repairs. He purchased apartments in newly built buildings, bought apartments, and then resold them. But I intuitively understood that something might happen. And I understood back then that this was not a very good investment to make. This was not the investment instrument, especially in that period of time. And then you know what happened in February 2022. So was the risk factor apparent, obvious back then in 2021 for him? Of course not, because he did not fully estimate the geopolitical processes back then. Whereas for me, it was apparent, obvious, the risks. At the same time, if we compare it to the string transportation technology, are there facts to the contrary? We already passed the stages with the highest risks, which is the certification stage and whether this technology is going to be demanded by the world after the certification. So what we have right now is the technology is tested and certified. And second, the company has now dozens of orders. The risks have reduced, right? And next, talking about objection handling, I can give you an example again from the real estate. You can tell that person, like, look, the person you're talking to is Nick, for example, and you tell them, Nick, at the digging of a pit stage, the first stage of the construction, I bought an apartment at a very small price. I had some inside information. The first 20 people had an opportunity to buy the first 100 square meters. It was at the pit digging stage. But now they're almost built 19 floors out of 20 floors. So, of course, for Nick, the risks will be way lower. But for Alexander, the risks were higher, but they decreased over time. But the difference between Alexander and Nick is that when they finish building the house, all 20 floors of it, and the house will be put into production, Alexander will earn way more because he assumed high risks at the pit digging stage, at the foundation laying stage. Whereas Nick, who invested at the stage when the building already had 19 floors, he bore less risks, pure risks, but he purchased real estate at a higher price. So his capitalization will be smaller, but he will still make an earning because there will be John coming in who will purchase the finished apartment in the finished building. But at the same time, both the Alexander and Nick made money. Alexander made more money because he took higher risks. Nick earned less because he took smaller risks, and John will earn nothing at all, just have an apartment. So right now we have the opportunity to show people that we show the results and that the risks are way smaller compared to you and other people who invested years ago. So what I'm saying here is that if you are responsible about what we're doing here, then take direct active participation in our current promotion and look into two options here. First, you can increase your own personal investment portfolio if there is need for that. And second of all, and by doing it, we will directly influence the development of the company, the progress of the company. And then secondly, start doing your agent's work. Dig up your contact list and work with them and invite them to our Saturday's presentation that we're going to have at the same time, which is 6 p.m. Kiev time. And this presentation will be based on the facts, results, and achievements in the development of string transportation technology over the last 10 years. Second, prospects in the crowdfunding area, investment crowdfunding, and preparing people for the prospects of the crowdfunding when we launch our new platform. So, dear friends, do not miss out on this opportunity. First, to enjoy a 10% bonus for finishing your installment plans early, if you have them, because we had very good discounts back then. Remember, we had discounts 80, we had discounts 90, we had discounts 75. So if those packages are still active, then if you finish your installments early, you can get a plus 10% increase. And then don't be greedy with the information. Invite other people. Let those people become part of our team, of our community. So, dear friends, everything is in our hands in this project. To be whether active or passive, it is up to you. But my opinion is that being active is more rewarding. It's a win-win situation, mutual benefit situation, because when you're active, you give the opportunity to your friends and relatives to capitalize on their investments. And also, it is an opportunity for you to earn your commission from your personal sales. Svetlana is asking how to invite strong leaders from other companies, sharks. Well, we're going to have a dedicated private group before we launch the new platform. So, dear friends, I don't have any more time to answer your questions because we ran out of time. So give me some feedback on our today's meeting and our today's broadcast, whether everything was to your liking or not. And I will be very grateful for your feedback. Well then, thank you very much for your feedback, and I will be waiting for you and your prospects, new clients, at our presentation on Saturday. We're going to have the meeting at 6 p.m. GMT +3. Okay, then. Then I would like to thank you and see you on Saturday. Bye-bye.